Well, welcome. This is another of our Black History lunchtime conversations, lunchtime for some folks, not for others. And it's good to have our colleague, Professor Sati Fakshat from Jos University in Nigeria. Greetings to you.
Thank you very
and
much.
also other
Regards to
colleagues who
everyone.
joined us. That's lovely, thank you. Well, our focus today is on Black History walks, and this is another fascinating development. I think this has been happening over a few years. People have been trying out Black History walks, but it's amazing for me to find out just how many areas of the UK have got Black History walks. And I'm delighted to welcome Marcia Dunkley from Black Heritage Walks. It's the name of your organisation, and you're going to tell us all about it.
Yes.
And I'm going to organise the PowerPoint, share my screen, and see how we get on.
Yeah.
Okay then, so welcome then, Marcia. Introduce yourself and just say to me next one, and I'll organise the PowerPoint.
Yes, so thank you all very much for wanting to hear my our presentation. I'm very humbled and blessed to be part of your conversation. So yes, I'm Marcia Dunkley, and essentially the founder of Black Heritage Walks Network, and the following set of PowerPoints will explain all. So next please, Liz. Yes.
Oops. There we go. Can't work out to the next one. There we are. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So basically, we'll start from the actual name of the organisation, and the name of our organisation is key because we want it to be able to say what it does on the tin, as it were. So yes, Black, because we're this is from a Black perspective, Black history, Black presence, but with the word heritage, that was key because our ethos is to present the Black presence with other heritages. So we are always bringing in the other faiths, communities, races, religions that have had a presence with us in Birmingham and the UK. And so you'll be hearing about the Irish community, the Scottish, the Welsh, the part we play together in our very detailed and complex relationship in Britain, and also the heritage and how we link up with worldwide, with the USA, with the rest of Europe, South America, everywhere, because we decided the word heritage had to come into this title because we need to show a full and balanced, what we call narrative. Black people weren't and aren't here on their own. We as all have had relationships with each other, and for the narrative to be correct, you have to bring in our relationships with others. Whether it was a good or bad relationship, it has to be explained as well for the complete narrative to be presented. Walks. Right, okay, so walks is because, yes, the way we present this is in walks. But what we didn't want to be, and we're not ever going to be, is that organisation that creates books and articles and papers. No, we want you to come out and use your 5 senses in this experience, to see it, to hear it, to feel the evidence that we're showing you. Because there's nothing more boring as a history teacher than teaching history in 4 walls. You have to go out there and actually feel it as well, and with the elements. So that's the walks, but the walks bit is also because we are social prescribers. We've done a social prescribing course, so we automatically link up with mental health services, dementia services, and also weight loss services via the NHS. We have a partnership with them. And the word network is because that's what we do, what we've always done, and we want to do more. We basically want to network with everyone, everywhere, everything, every project that you are doing. Come and call us. We want to help you, support you, because that's how this situation works. And for us to network, basically, I will send you my phone number and the link to our website, and we can't wait to hear from you. There isn't anything that you could put in front of us that we can't try and support you with. So that's where the name comes from. Okay, so next slide, please. Yeah, so so the next slide, because you're going to have an overview of who we are. So we can move on to the next slide, please, Liz. Yeah, and the next one. Yeah, so the beginning, how this came about. And so, so I've been a teacher for over years in different settings. And yes, Black History Month is the only time that we would be talking about the Black presence in UK. And I was that teacher, oh my word, who, slavery, that's all that was the only point of Black history that the teachers, the schools could relate to. And I was one of those in the staff room. No, there's more to us than slavery. We had civilizations, kings and queens before. If you want to use the word activist, I was that activist in the classroom. Oh, and I'd end up and the headmaster would say, okay, Marcia, okay, you, because we don't know. And that's one of the things with the school system. It's not that teachers don't want to, they just don't know themselves. So what would happen is we'd have a teacher training day where I would explain to the other teachers, this is the other part of our history that you don't know of, not slavery. And I'd end up writing the lesson plans for the geography lessons, art, history, music, the lot, and bringing in the Black presence. A lot of time it would take, but I didn't mind. And there was a subconsciousness because the headmaster would often say to me, Marcia, okay, other than slavery, can you advise us of somewhere else, another something that we can take our children to experience the Black presence? And I'd sit there and embarrassingly, no, there isn't anywhere we can take. We can only explain our Black presence on paper and pens and in pictures. And that really, that really annoyed me, that we hadn't got anywhere that we could physically go. So yes, a colleague of mine, another teacher, suggested that, yes, let's go to the Slavery Museum in Liverpool. And again, I only had to hear the word slavery and I went, no! But eventually, yes, I did go in because there wasn't anywhere else. And I mustn't, I don't know if anyone's ever been to the Liverpool Maritime Slavery Museum. Fantastic, brilliant. It really did give me another perspective of how things can be presented. Very ethical, but did show the horrors of slavery, but in a very, what I call, balanced narrative. So a sort of ping moment happened there in my brain. Yeah, so if you'd like to move on, please, Liz. Yes, and as I said to you, these were, you know, when I saw that the fact that Liverpool does not hide the fact that as a city it was built on the backs of slaves. You know, I saw all of these monuments and sculptures and lots more. And that gave me the inspiration to think, well, if Liverpool can do this, why can't Birmingham? You know, I've travelled 100 miles to see Black history in a city. What's going on in Birmingham? And I already knew that the answer was nothing. So again, there's a ping going on in my head. Yes. So if you'd like to move on to the next slide, please, Lee. Yes. So myself and my nerdy self, with lots of coffee, I sat up one night and I started to Google search, try and find the Black presence, the physical, visible Black presence. And so I started with the first Black churches, schools, businesses, where the first influx of the Black population came into Birmingham. And it all seemed to happen in Handsworth. That's the big gulp of where I found all this. It's like, wow. Now, this is interesting with the whole thing of what I say, the narrative. I live in Wolverhampton, and Handsworth is only, what, 8 miles from where I live. And yet I'd never been to Handsworth. And the only times I'd heard about Handsworth, it frightened me to go there, because even with my own family, you know, I would hear conversations of Handsworth being violent and ghetto and the riots. So obviously that frightened me to go there. But then finding these wonderful gems of history, I'm like, well, hold on, this is interesting. And I'll never forget the day I said to my little boys, I've got 2 boys, they were young at the time, I said, we're going to Handsworth for the day. And she said, you're going to take my grandchildren to somewhere so violent, they'll never come back. I'm like, oh, it was a real big, ah. And I said, well, Mum, I'm sure we'll be okay, you know. And so what I did, I plotted where I could find all these gems that I'd found, because obviously I've got 2 lively boys and they get bored easily. So I did it so I could quickly take them around in the loop so that I could visually see everything and get them home quickly, because my mum was going to call social services on me. I took them to somewhere dangerous. So we went, and it was phenomenal. And it was peaceful and it was calm. And I'll never forget the afternoon myself and my 2 boys spent in Handsworth Park. We had a little picnic, played football, and there wasn't this violence, this ghetto, this, it was lovely, it was beautiful. So basically what I'd created was a loop. And I got in touch with 2 other researchers that I was always working with at the time, and so you can see them there. It's Gary Stewart. He's got his own sort of platform. It's called Recognise Black Culture and Heritage. You can Google that. And then there's me. And then there's Dawn Carr. And she's a heritage officer with an organisation that's linked with the Birmingham Museum called Legacy West Midlands. And again, they're all about the heritage of everyone and anyone in the community. So I've always worked with them and known them. And because we're academics, I've done a lot of research alongside Dr. Kahinde Andrews. I'm not sure if you know him, but he's the Professor of Black Studies, the first Black Studies degree at Birmingham City University. We've all worked with him. And when we explained to him what we'd found, he said, yes, this is it, this is the one. He's endorsed all our walks. So you've got 3, what I call academics working along this journey. And if Liz goes to the next screen, please. So we embarked on what we call the primary research, and it included what we've got there on the list, you know, looking at newspaper literature reviews, which meant going to all the archives at Birmingham Library, Birmingham Museum Trust, and wonderful people who have been on our platform. So you've probably heard of Banley Burke and Pegasus and Caesar. Was it Caesar, Pegasus? I can't remember. And then there's Michael Brown from Wasifa Foundation. There's nothing better than oral stories. And what we set up were what we call heritage open days at local churches, community centres, etc., where we invited the locals to come in and give us their oral stories. And that's what added the meat to our walks. They gave us information that we would never ever have found on Google search or by researching it from their own base experience. And we then went on to go on to other Black heritage walks around Liverpool, well, around the country, to get a flavour of this. And then with that on top, so that we were sure that we were able to present Black heritage walks in a proper, structured way. We've all undertaken Heritage Trails volunteer training, and it's a course that Legacy WM run. It's a 12-week course, 1 session per week, and at the end of it you do get certification to show that you've learned all the standards required to be a proper heritage walker, etc. So we've made sure we're totally equipped, and we've done the work, and we're continually doing more and more research. And that's the thing with research. When you find one gem, it then links you to another gem in another area of Birmingham. So I'll just ask Liz to move to the next stage, and then the next one, because finding the gems in one, what I call postcode area, then enabled us to find what I call lovely hidden gems in other postcodes area around Birmingham. And so what would have been one walk then became 5 walks, 5 other walks. So I'll give you a little, the medieval walk, this was the one that I started in Handsworth. And what I've just put aside there, where it says the narrative, is just to give you a content of the things that we will be presenting to you and showing you on our walk. And the list is there. And Liz, I'm sure you'll share this PowerPoint presentation with others. And again, this is the whole thing with the narrative. We were shocked and we were almost embarrassed that we didn't know that Nelson Mandela had actually visited Handsworth. And the story behind it is amazing, but I'll leave that to when you come on one of our walks. And yet there's no evidence. And this is why we sat down at a table and said, well, if we didn't know, and we should know, then it's massively important that not just this generation, but other generations know how their history and their international history is tightly woven in these in this walk, because it will be lost. It will be lost, and it's massively important that that narrative keeps on, because it gives those children, those that community, a sense of pride in where they come from. And as Sarah was saying, it makes them feel connected. So yes, we call this the medieval walk, which is Nelson Mandela's South African name, in recognition, because there's no other how can I put it, Birmingham City Council. I hope no Birmingham City Councillors are here, because I'm not having an attack on you. But it was arranged via them, and yet there is no evidence, or it's hidden or not talked about, I don't know, that this wonderful historical political figure came to Birmingham, much less Handsworth. So that's the medieval walk. And so if I move on to the other walks, please, with the next slide. Yes, so Ida B. Wells, and again, massive history, political, wonderful. And our research found out that she stayed in Edgbaston and for quite a long time. And when we then did our further research, wow, the narrative that we want to show is that yes, she's a Black female from America. Along the whole route are a long list of civil rights activists, Black, white, male and female. And it's important that that is narrated, so for you to get a full, what I call, narration of everything that went on. We want to show that there were white and female activists against this. So as much as I said this is the Ida B. Wells walk, this narrative contains the full balance of who she worked with, who was also on the same page as her. And along that walk, we'll be talking about the numerous and vast amount of blue plaques. Edgbaston, I'm not sure, but from my own walks can tell you, has an amazing amount of blue plaques dedicated to lots of influential people. And one of the things that we took some children out on a workshop is they never knew what a blue plaque even was. And that's what I mean about connecting people to their history, their communities. On this walk, you'll also hear about our connections to America, to Jamaica, and the Quakers, the suffragettes. It's not just about Ida B. Wells. Okay, yeah, so there's that one. And could I have the next slide, please? Yeah. So 6888 walk, and when you say to people, what's 6888? And they think, well, what's that? Basically, it's our walk based in Selly Oak of the massive difference that this is the name given to the battalion of the all-female African-American, that battalion that made a massive difference to World War II. And there's loads of visual evidence. There's a blue plaque about them actually around Selly Oak, and beautiful walk that is, because we can actually show you the actual personalities of some of the key members of the battalion and how they led their different departments to create that massive difference to World War II. It's fantastic. Yes, if I have the next slide, please. Yeah, so then there's the Gun Quarter and Slavery Walk. And yes, that's based around Digbeth, the Digbeth area of Birmingham, and it shows how Birmingham and the Lunar Society, in their indirect way, supported and were asked to support a specific set of instruments and equipment that supported the slave trade, and how the economics of the financial gain to Birmingham, and that Birmingham was the area that was commissioned to create this specific type of chains and shackles, etc., and especially the guns that were hallmarked to the gun quarter of Birmingham. So that's that one there. And the next slide, please. Yes, and so this is the latest one that I've just created, and I've done this in partnership with the Canal and River Trust. So this is another organisation we've connected with. And with this one, we're not talking to you about the mechanisms of slavery. What we're talking to you about, it's a numbers walk where I'll be throwing the vast amount of pounds that the raw materials that were robbed from Africa and brutally brought over from the plantations in America and Jamaica, and the millions and billions. That's all I'll be telling you about, the millions and billions of how much these raw materials, where the overheads were essentially nothing because the slaves didn't get paid, let's be honest here. And the massive economic difference it brought not just to Birmingham, but the UK. And the fact that these companies such as Barclays and Cadbury's are still raking in billions because of compensation paid to the aristocracy over here that had plantations, and how without this there wouldn't have been an industrial revolution, and how this narrative is still alive now, but not in the form of slavery, but in what I call unfair trade practices. And that's what this walk does. So it's called Birmingham's Rivers of African Toil, because we talk about the fact that it started from Africa, and then with the transatlantic triangle, then goes over to the Caribbean, and then it comes over here. It's that sort of thing. Yeah, so I think, is that the last? Yeah, yes, the other one that Gary and Dawn have worked on just, and it's the Stolen Jewels of Africa walk, where we take you to the jewellery quarter of Birmingham, and there's a massive list of royal jewellery, not just the British royal family, but worldwide, where the diamonds, gold were stolen from Africa and created into these beautiful artifacts, but in this part of Birmingham. And that's beautiful as well. You actually see some of the jewels as well. We can show you them in some of the hallmark buildings. Yeah, so I think, is that the last one? That one's the last one, I think. Yeah, so that's our walks. And we've got other walks that we are creating as we speak. And this is just in Birmingham. So just imagine what we could do in Nottingham, in Derby, in Staffordshire. We'll find it. So, as I said, the last part of is network, and this is what we strive to do with everyone and everyone. So I'll give you a flavour of some of the things that we do. So if we went on to the next one. So, right, so at the moment, we are, we've been, piloted, we have been commissioned and partnering with the I've forgotten the name of the Windrush organisation, but we're aiming to set up a Windrush 70th trail, I believe, for next year. So we're working on that at the moment. So that gives you an idea of where we are. So there's that one. We've just started doing the preliminary research for this. So with this, when we say network, we have created workshops, seminars, events for local residents. So for example, what we will do is we'll do a tea, coffee and cake morning at a local church, and we will invite the local residents, and we're not just talking Black residents of the community. We want to hear from everyone, Irish, Scottish, anybody. Come and tell us your oral stories, because and the Irish community's oral stories will naturally link with the Black community's oral stories, with the Scottish, because we were all around at that time. Nobody stood on their own. And from that, we've been able to make connections. So right now, I'm working on an exhibition based on the iconic sign, "No Irish, no Blacks, no Dogs." And I found some massively interesting artifacts and evidence. And what I mean is, we've got to bring the Black and the Irish community on this journey with me. So we're having regular meetings as a group. And one of the things I found interesting was that, and this is the whole thing of the discussion, the talk. I actually thought that the "No Irish" was put at the top because they're white, they'd be seen as slightly better than the Blacks. I have been informed by several of the Irish community that it were the Irish that were really hated. They really didn't want the Irish here, and that's why they're at the top. So that's educated me. The Blacks were tolerated. We weren't seen as a threat, just a nuisance. But because of the political agenda of the Irish, they were hated. And so my issue is that the Irish narrative needs to come out more, as well as the Black narrative, because they probably suffered, I don't know, more than we did if they were hated so much. It's all of these things coming together. Yes, so that's that. So with schools and educational establishments, we create workshops, but because I come from a teaching background, I will gauge it to either Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3. We know how to create that scheme of work based on the key stage of that children that we're going into. We've now partnered with the NHS with their dementia department. And one of the things that was a massive success is that we took a group of elders, not just Black, all colours, out on a heritage walk. And these are people who've got severe dementia. And when we took them out on our heritage walk, they lit up, because we took them back to a place that they could relate to, and it was massively successful. So there's that there. And we're in talks now with Birmingham City University to become an actual part of their degree, because it all relates. Yeah, so again, with the whole thing of networking, we have ensured that we are on every social media that there is out there, so that you can connect with us, you can get in touch with us. And as you can see there, we can do virtual walks, because with COVID and so on, we don't want to stop. But you can come into a virtual walk with us, you can have a meeting, seminars with us, everything. We're there everywhere. So we'll move on a little bit more. I don't know.
Okay, next one.
Yes, please. Yes. So this is just to give you a little taster. We have piloted a year-long and created what we call heritage education, and we found that was massively needed. Last year, was it the year before? We went into one school, and what we noticed was that when we spoke of the word heritage, the Black and Asian students were able to relate to heritage and told us that their families were from Jamaica or from Bangladesh or whatever. We then realized that the white children couldn't relate to this word heritage. Okay. So what we did, we sent them away and to ask their parents, grandparents, uncles, etc., where in the world their families came from. And they came back the next day. Oh, my granddad was from Germany. My auntie, my great aunt was from France, blah, blah, blah. And we said, that's your heritage. And then they got it. And it then did a ping thing in our head, that there's an aspect of the curriculum or of people's lives where they don't consider they have a heritage. So we put together a heritage education pack to address this situation, because every child should know they have a heritage. So that gives you an idea of what we've done there with that one. It's a heritage education. We can go into any school and we've got it gauged at key stage 1, 2, 3 or 4. Yeah, so that's that one. We are involved with the Rangers Caribbean Film Festivals right now. The organisation, I think it's called We Are Parable. And so we're working with them with whatever they want. So we had to create an exhibition, for example, on the Black entertainers from day one in this in the UK. But what we do is we've also thrown in there the other heritages that came on board with us. So you'll never see an exhibition or walk where we just talk about the Black experience. We bring in the other experiences as well. So there's lots of film festivals we work with that organisation. So the next, so we're now working on a series of murals around Handsworth, and there's this one, the Underground Railroad, which we're designing at the moment, and it was funded, as you can see, by UCAN and an organisation called The World Reimagined. And I guess if you type in the World Reimagined, you'll see what that platform is all about. And what it is, Michelle Gale, the entertainer, and some other media company want to create a presence of, in the shape of globes. You'd have to go onto their website to get a better understanding of it. And people from around the world that have made a difference to historical, social, what we call events. Harriet Tubman is there on there, and Gandhi as well. Lots of other nationality. We want to show that the world is the way it is because of all of us historically being interconnected. So that's one project, the World Reimagined. So the Lunar Society of Birmingham have asked us to essentially take over their walks, to decolonize. I can never say that word properly, you know. It sounds like it sounds like colon by the time I finish, which is a human body part. Anyway, they've asked us to basically, they said, you know what, because they've come on our walks and they've met us, take over our walks, because with everything and with the woke agenda, what they said is, we need to show the Black presence within the Lunar Society and with Birmingham's industrial revolutionists. And so this is what we've now embodied, and we're embracing this. We are essentially decolonizing their walks now. So we've got most of the walks, heritage walks, in Birmingham now because of the Lunar Society saying, here, you take over. So that's wonderful.
That's fantastic. And I love what's next after James Watt. Excellent.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, James Watt was another one of these characters in Birmingham.
So again, you know, we say we network with anyone and everything. So there's a theatre company called China Plate, the China Plate Theatre Company. And I asked them why they're called China Plate. And it's a London rhyming slang for something like, how you doing, mate? Anyway, they are putting on a premiere series of theatre productions based on the Bristol bus boycott. I get my words out. And they've asked us to come on board as consultants and to help them basically present the correct narrative within their production. So the outcome is there's going to be a bus exhibition where you can come on board the bus and we'll take you on a tour of Bristol and connect it up to Birmingham. We're working on that. You'll see films on this bus exhibition. There'll be films, lots of oral stories, and a production, a theatre production. So that's that one there, yeah, that we're working with.
Isn't it?
And another project, yeah, diverse divas of Handsworth. So another organisation has said, look, we want to do this, but guess what, guys, you do this. And what we are doing, what they want is to show the female, what we call, I wouldn't use the word activists, but those that have, yes, have brought a massive change. Well, why they came to us is because they know it won't just be about your black ladies. We will always show the other nations, races, because we couldn't have done it all on our own. And so you can see there, you know, the one that I'm actually engaged with is the Nuns of St Mary's Convent, which is a lovely convent in Handsworth. And the connection they have is they're Irish, but the amount of missionary work, so I use the word missionary work, what I call human appeal work that they did in Africa, the Caribbean, and also in this country is beautiful, and it has to be shared, has to be. So you can see there the art interpretations that we are going to pilot. So we've got Harriet Tubman, and we're helping to create a tapestry of, no, not a tapestry, an art piece showing the stitching codes that she would have used to communicate to support the Underground Railway. With the nuns, I'm helping them design a tapestry. With the Windrush ladies, crochet was our thing. And there's going to be a big exhibition on that. And South Asian mandlas, which is another type of artwork. We're showing everybody in this. Yeah, so that's that one. Yeah, so this is the world reimagined. And if you type that in, yes, I've put the website, you'll get a better understanding of what they want to do here. But yeah, it's to enable the community to be able to show the giant positive leaps we've made, how can I put it, in mankind by working together. It's best you go onto their website, you'll get a better understanding. And oh yeah, the last one. So yeah, so Dawn Carr, our other researcher, she's been given an award by the Society of Architectural Historians to do an MA in historic conservation. And again, she would like to, as part of her MA, to network and link with others to support you. And yes, it will give her the evidence for her MA as well. Yeah. So I'm just going to see what's next. I'm not sure if there's anything next. I don't know if I've gone over too much. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. Yes. So sorry if I've gone over and I've took over. I didn't mean to, but it needed this level of detail for me to explain who, how, what we are and what we do. Yes.
Well, Marcia, I can't thank you enough. And you know, talk about feeling homesick. Talk about feeling homesick. I worked in Handsworth for years at City College, Birmingham.
Okay.
So places you were talking about, I know so well, but the way you've strung the walks together, created the walks and the diversity of what you do is just absolutely fantastic. So David, would you like to ask a question? And then you're going to share your walks, which I think will be quite different.
Yeah, well, they won't be. Well, that's interesting. There's an awful lot of similarities. Can I first of all say that was inspiring, and you've given me so much to think about, Marcia, about how I can do things differently and better. So thank you. And the question I had was just a very practical thing about the network. I mean, are you thinking of this as a network within Birmingham, the wider area,
oh, yes,
or is it wide?
Everywhere. When we say network, we are talking Birmingham, the UK, the world.
Good.
There's no limit. So David, I'd love if I'll send you my email details, my phone number. Give us a ring. Let's see what we can do together. No problem. Wonderful.
Great. I'll be in touch.
Yes, lovely. John?
Yeah. Marcia, you have to give us this talk because, I mean, it's the first time I've had a chance to look at this. But, I mean, I'm connected with this because the map you showed, I'm sitting right in the middle of where that is now. So I am connected, and I've got this picture too of, can you see? Mandela, that was the day that he came to Handsworth.
Oh, yes.
and it was taken by a teacher.
I love that picture.
It's taken by a teacher who's now gone back to Ghana, Adjua Foa. She was a teacher with us, and she used to tell us about Dinkra cross, Kenti cloth, Akan stools, everything, you know.
Wow.
But, it was a councillor who arranged the meeting in Handsworth Park. It was Philip.
It was Philip.
And I didn't go to that, unfortunately. It was very early. I was too idle, and I went because I was going to the meeting in Birmingham, and she took that photograph as
copy.
He was coming out. Yes, of course. And I was standing there, you know, and the car came past, and Mandela was there, so I gave a salute, and he responded. But I mean, he just spent 2 hours speaking without notes, and he had a whole audience like that. It was an amazing experience. So there's so much to share. In terms of other things you brought out there, though, I mean, we did a project on Victorian Britain and sold the pack, and we included Ida B. Wells, but I never knew she was in Birmingham. Didn't find any evidence for that.
Oh yes, I take
which, if we'd known, Gilroy produced a beautiful picture of her, which we've got. So that's one thing that we didn't know. I mean, we had the Jubilee Singers who came to Birmingham from Fisk University, you know, Du Bois had to do. And Frederick Douglass was another person who came to Britain, and women in Birmingham supported. But I mean, I've learned a lot, and you know, there are a lot of connections as far as the Irish is concerned, and so on. I mean, in terms of the I mean, what was open to the Irish, of course, and that happened when they changed, when the inner city changed a long time ago. The Irish melted out, but I mean, they were able to change their names, and were able to do things in that way. So you know, the colour issue is an issue in that respect. So comparisons can be a bit difficult in that respect. But you know, I think the point you make was very interesting. Anyway, we'll learn more on that.
We'll do coffee, John, separate to this. This would be wonderful.
Okay.
I just think this is a magical time to be hearing. Thank you, John, for that, and to hear how wide you're prepared to look.
Oh God!
Black History Month Black History Lunchtime conversations. We've roamed around all sorts of stories in all sorts of places, and coming with all sorts of different themes. And to me, it's an inspiration to see what you're doing. And I do hope that we can link up, because we have access to such wonderful resources in the people that we're linked with, to clarify the actual heritage and history stories that you're telling. And we're looking at the history of Ireland, particularly.
Oh, and we are as well.
I am. So we'll link with you on that, because that's important. And we've got an Irish colleague who's going to come and speak about a book he's just written in County Mayo about slavery in County Mayo, I have to say, but we hope to have the wider picture of Ireland. Simon?
Just unmuting, yeah. So yeah, Marcia, definitely want to speak to you about, you know, maybe sending some of our volunteers down to be trained with you, but also I was inspired by what you said about bringing in the Irish story, because being of Italian extraction, in parts of the country, many parts of the country, particularly the East End, our people faced a lot of racism. My family saw the Battle of Cable Street. My father grew up with friends from all over the world. So yeah, it's just really fascinating to see things come together, and the way you bring in children from the white community. But there's so much to do, so it's really interesting.
Please connect with us. Wonderful.
Yeah, I know. I still owe you the phone call.
Yeah, don't worry.
It's half term this week, so it's been a bit crazy. But next week.
So Marcia, you met Simon last week on the show on the session. I'm intrigued by your visual walks, virtual walks that you're going to do, because I think that's going to be so important for us. So Can I just welcome colleagues who've joined us? Audrey Dewey, good to see you. Helen Papworth, good to see you. And Bernard Janke, I'm absolutely delighted to see you, because maybe we can have some virtual walks around Kingston and
yes.
other parts of Jamaica.
Oh,
That would be
definitely.
so good. So Bernard, are you able to respond at the moment? Bernard?
Hi, morning, everybody. Well, morning from Jamaica. Yes, it is possible.
Well, that sounds something that we can be talking about. But,
Yes, we've actually had a discussion internally about that kind of possibility. So it's something that is actually somewhere on the agenda. Looking at places of interest, historical interest in Kingston, but it has just been at the discussion stage. We haven't actually taken it any further as yet.
Right. Well, it'll be interesting, and we can talk some more, Bernard, because in a couple of weeks' time, I'm hoping you're going to share with us about your work at the Jamaica Memory Bank and how that work can be shared in the UK and other parts of the world. So thank you very much, Bernard.
No problem.
Right. Well, I think we'll just wrap up that session, and we'll say thank you again, Marcia, very much indeed, and then we'll carry on with our next presentation. So thank you very much indeed. So if you can stop the recording, Simon.